welcome to our board meeting. If we may all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we're going to hold a hearing on the proposed use of $454,981 from the repair reserve, which was established by the voters in May 2015. Under the provisions of Section 6D of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York, a public hearing is required in most circumstances prior to the use of repair reserve funds. I therefore declare this hearing open at 7:09. If there are no objections from my fellow board members, I would offer the floor to Nancy Carney, Superintendent of Schools, who will deliver a brief presentation on the proposed repairs that the administration wishes to see accomplished. Ms. Carney?
Thank you, Dr. Kukunis. Okay, at this time, as we have done over numerous times over the last few years, we're having a public hearing to talk about expenditures that will come from our repair reserve fund. And as we say each time, this fund was authorized by voters in May of 2015 to fund up to $5 million in repair work in our district. And this reserve functions as a saving account. It's funded by unused funds at the end of each year. And this reserve can supplement needed repairs for projects that were not included in the 2011 bond. We're very excited that we're coming to the end of our bond this year. We're finishing up now Pulaski Street and Roanoke schools. They already look incredible with the new additions on, the new cafeterias, new classroom space, and this is part of us helping to bring these two buildings to completion just as we have with our other buildings. So what does repair mean? It's occasional work of a recurring nature, which is intended to restore to a satisfactory condition anything which is decayed, deteriorated, weathered, or has been broken, torn, or is inoperable. And how do we assess it? We identify projects that are needed. The Board of Ed holds a public hearing, which we're doing now, to educate themselves about, and the public as to the intended repairs, and then the Board of Ed votes to authorize the use of the funds from the repair reserve. And these are the projects that we're asking the board to approve. As we've done at our other elementary schools as well, through the repair reserve, the playground at Roanoke Avenue Elementary School, equipment and safety surface, and that's where we have the rubber surface and the new playground equipment, just like we've done at the other elementary schools. The same for Pulaski Street School. Pulaski's a little smaller. There's less equipment as the children get older. But right now where we have sand, there will be a nice rubber surface for the playground at Pulaski as well. Also, we need to put grass field and water service to the Pulaski Street Elementary School by the field, seating and water fountains. One of the things that we're looking to do is, as you can see, what the improvements that have occurred in the fields throughout the district, we want to make everything uniform. And areas where we don't have irrigation, where we don't have seed, we want to be sure that the entire campus is going to really look aesthetically beautiful, with it being landscaped and being irrigated for our students and obviously for our athletes. This is the last of the old fencing that we have in the district. You may have seen around other elementary schools and around different places, we're replacing the old rusted chain link fence with a black vinyl fence. That really looks nice, and we want to make sure that we continue that around Pulaski Street as we're doing the additional renovation there. And that's what we're asking the board to approve through the repair reserve this evening. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Before I close the hearing, are there any comments or questions from members of the public? Okay. There is an item on our agenda later this evening to authorize the expenditures we have explained. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Moore.
I just got one quick thing.
Yes.
I don't know if it's because I'm online and I don't know if it's in the paper, but we just make sure that this public hearing is added to our agenda. It's,
That's the drive through. There's a little box here with a icon, so maybe that's what it's supposed to be.
What is this?
On the second page, open to the public to see after the pledge of allegiance and the little box down below.
just a-
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Meyer. I was actually just questioning the same thing and somehow it disappeared.
Thank you. Okay. So there is an item on our agenda later this evening to authorize the expenditures we have explained during the public hearing. Thank you to all who participated in this evening. Seeing no additional people wishing to speak, I now therefore declare this public hearing closed at 7:14. Okay, at this time, opportunity for members of the community to address the Board of Education on agenda topics only. Anybody? No? Consent agenda, motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Second, Mr. Gross. All in favor? Motion carried. At this time, I'd like to congratulate Melanie Mazurek. She is our new middle school science teacher. Welcome. And, sorry, I'm looking at the paper. Since there is no old business, new business, item A, approval of expenditures from the repair reserve fund.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Grass. Second, Ms. Ligon. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Okay. Item B, acceptance of resignation of board member. Motion? Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Second. Thank you, Ms. Lance. All in favor? Motion carried. Oh, Mr. Dornstein. Sure. Item C, scheduling an annual organizational meeting. Motion? Thank you, Mr. Gross. Second. Thank you, Mr. Dorrance. It's July 5th. All in favor? Motion carried. Item D, approval of E-Bar. Motion? Thank you, Mr. Myers. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Item E, approval to attend the Nassau Suffolk School Boards Association meeting. Motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Second. Thank you, Mr. Dorr. All in favor? Motion carried. Item F, approval of award of new contracts. Thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Any questions? There's quite a few. Good. Good? Okay. All in favor? Motion carried. Item G, approval of renewal of contracts. Motion? Thank you, Mr. Ross, second. Ms. Ligon, thank you. Any questions? There's quite a few. I'm sure we all reviewed. Yes, this is the yearly annual housekeeping. All in favor? Motion carried. Item H, approval of surplus and obsolete portable buildings.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Second.
Thank you. So gross. Any comments?
Were we gonna, was there discussion of keeping this in storage space?
No.
There was, and you all said no.
All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, at this time, opportunity for Superintendent, Ms. Carney.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to invite our Director of English as a New Language Learners and World Languages, Liz Scaduto, as requested by the Board of Education. We asked her to update the board on exactly where we are in our department and some of the challenges that we're being faced with. One of the things that we had asked the board to approve was adding an E&L director at the secondary level, and we wanted to make sure that the board is really up to date on all the different challenges we're being faced with as a district. And Ms. Scaduto, please come forward. Okay. Okay, thank you for inviting me to come tonight.
Thanks for showing up.
Happy to do so.
So, as you know, I oversee the English as a New Language, which used to be called English as a Second Language, or English to Speakers of Other Languages programs, and bilingual programs here in Riverhead. There we go. If you take a look at our data trends, you can see that in the past 10 years, we have had an enormous increase in the number of English language learners in our district, especially in the past couple of years. During that time, we've also increased our staff. As you can see, we are increasing a little bit again for next year. And that includes bilingual education. We have bilingual education now, kindergarten through 6th grade through high school. Our needs really indicate, according to the state regulations, that we should have bilingual support from kindergarten through high school in many of our buildings. During this time, you can see that we have expanded gradually in terms of the bilingual education. You can also see that at certain points the number of ESL teachers has jumped a little bit. All of this has necessitated further data reporting, further requirements in terms of our student coursework, and also the need for more support for all of our teachers, including our English as a New Language teachers, our general education teachers, special education teachers, as many of our classes have English learners now. That leads to our request this year to have a second director of English as a New Language, with the focus being on one person overseeing kindergarten through 6th grade and one person overseeing 7th through 12, but both people working together collaboratively for the needs of our students and to support our teachers in the education of our kids. Commissioners' Regulations Part 154 are what govern our ESL programs in New York State. They include a lot of areas, but I would just like to highlight a couple of them for you. One is English language learner identification and enrollment process, parent notification, record keeping and retention of the records, as well as working with students with disabilities who may also be English language learners, services while they're in the ESL program, and also the transition out of the ESL program, professional development for all staff, and district planning and reporting requirements. One of the big changes under services for English language learners is the English as a New Language program itself. It now includes 5 proficiency levels instead of 4, all requiring services for kids. Revised time and class requirements, units of study. It includes a standalone E&L, which is like our old ESL class was, content-based language instruction, but also an integrated E&L and content area, which in most cases is English language arts. Sometimes that's done by co-teaching, sometimes that's done by a dual certified teacher, and depending on the regulations, we may need different amounts of each of these. There are changes in the services to English language learners in terms of bilingual education. One of the major changes in the regulation is that we now need 20 students on a grade level across the district in order to necessitate a bilingual program being offered. It must be offered every year, and we are required to do an annual estimate for the following year, as well as open as many sections as are needed by the students. One way that the new regulations have affected us in terms of bilingual education is that now almost every district in New York State is looking for bilingual certified teachers, and we, as you probably are aware, are continuing to seek out and hopefully locate highly qualified bilingual certified teachers. It's become a little bit more difficult, and we're still, looking for the best people for our students. These are just an overview of some of the class time requirements for English learners. You can take a look at that, and if anyone is interested, I'll be happy to explain this in a little bit more detail. But basically, it's broken down into language proficiency levels on the left, along with the grade level, and then the requirements for the standalone E&L, which is, again, like the old ESL, and the content integrated E&L classes, and those are the co-taught or dual certified teachers. Bilingual education program requirements here, K through 12. The shift is that it is all K through 12, whereas it used to be broken down K8 and 9-12. One of the big changes, and this is affecting our high school education program, is that at the high school level, the bilingual education program is more specific now about which content areas we can use and how many courses we need to be offering to kids. Another thing that governs our English as a new language program is the English Language Learner Blueprint for Success. This is a New York State developed document, and it contains principles that address every aspect of the school district education. So for example, principle number 1 is that all teachers are teachers of English language learners and need to plan accordingly. So how do we see this in our district? You can see this in our district by taking a look around our buildings. You will see that there's a format change for our instruction. You will see co-taught classes. You will see dual certified teachers. You will see a lot of professional development for teachers, teaching assistants, and administrators. You will see our students getting access to support services, reading, math, that kind of thing. Principle number 2 is that all school boards and district and school leaders are responsible for ensuring that the academic, linguistic, social, emotional needs of ELLs are addressed. Now, again, this is similar to what you would see for all students, but in terms of our ELLs, we can see this in our schools in terms of greater articulation of progress with families, communication in the language families understand, again, that's in the regulations, access to support services, changes to enrollment procedures. There have been some dramatic changes to our enrollment process, and changes to the record-keeping and notification process in terms of identification of a student for an English learner program and their placement and continuation in that program. Principle number 3 is that districts and schools engage all English learners in instruction that's grade appropriate, academically rigorous, and aligned to grade level curriculum. In other words, we are fully integrating our English learners into our regular program. We have always tried to do that, but now some things are more specific. For example, the increased rigor in the entry and exit testing for ESL, updated criteria for exiting ESL services, as I talked a little bit about the different levels, and the district is now responsible for accounting for different subpopulations of English learners. There are 6 different categories that we are required to report progress on. Oops. Okay. Principle number 4 is that districts and schools recognize that bilingualism and biliteracy are assets and provide opportunities for all students, not just English learners, to earn a seal of biliteracy upon obtaining a high school diploma. This is visible in the regulations through the updated requirements for bilingual education, updated guidance on world languages, and requirements for home language and new language assessments. When potential English learners come in, we are now assessing their home language, math, and literacy levels, as well as their English proficiency levels, again, all through regulation. But it takes more time, it takes more staff to do that, and we are working out ways to make that happen. But the Seal of Biliteracy is very exciting. It goes on to the diploma. Riverhead is going to start offering it next year. It was piloted in some districts in New York State this year. Number 5 is districts and schools value all parents and families of ELLs as partners in education and effectively involve them in their education of their children. That probably we're able to see a lot this year in terms of our ENL family nights that many of our buildings held. Our parents have increased access to student progress in a language that they can understand. Principle number 6 is district and school communities leverage the expertise of bilingual ESL and world language teachers and support personnel while increasing their professional capacities. This is really visible in a lot of the professional development that continues to go on in our district, the in-house collegial circles, many of them run by ENL and world language teachers, ENL family nights, as I mentioned, in-house staff development, cross-curricular collaboration, and co-teaching in the ENL and ELA classes. It hasn't always been easy, but the teachers have found time to collaborate. Some of the building schedules have been revised to make extra time for that, and teachers are starting to use some of the web tools to facilitate that communication as well. So we're really working on different ways to do that. And we're looking forward to a lot more communication and collaboration next year as well. Principle number 7 is that districts and school communities leverage ELL's home languages, cultural assets, and prior knowledge. This includes multilingual access to the curriculum, multilingual access to school information, family events, new home language assessments that I just mentioned in math and home language literacy, multilingual family orientation at the time of enrollment, and increased professional development for all staff. Principle number 8 is that districts and schools use diagnostic tools and formative assessment practices in order to measure ELL's content knowledge, as well as new and home language development to inform instruction. Some of the tools that we use are the same tools that we use with all students, but there is one exciting project ongoing which will be ready for use on a trial basis over the summer and then fully implemented in the fall, which we are referring to as the roadmaps process. The roadmaps project is being done by a group of ELL and bilingual teachers with input from their colleagues, and it is designed to get an initial level of home language and math literacy for students as required by New York State, and then give the teachers an easy, not time-consuming way to continue to monitor that, especially the ESL teachers, as the child goes through the language program and continues their learning in all academic areas. So we're hoping that that will make the child's progress clearer to everybody. So the big question, how is Riverhead meeting the needs of our student population? Well, we are continuing to find creative ways to meet the needs of all of our students. A lot of our TESOL certified, that's the ESL certification. Teachers are going ahead and getting a general education certificate. If they are at the elementary level or if they are at the secondary level, many of our teachers are looking to add a content certificate. We have teachers earning their ELA certificate, their social studies certificate. We have one or two maybe interested in science and math certificate, although because of the specialized content, that's a little bit more challenging sometimes. We've partnered with Molloy College, the CRITI program, which is the Intensive Teacher Institute program for general education teachers to earn a TESOL certificate. That is a grant-funded opportunity. And a lot of our general education teachers are also looking for other grant-funded and non-grant-funded cohort programs to earn a TESOL certificate as well. We continue, as I mentioned, to seek out Spanish-speaking bilingual teachers who have the certificate, the extension, and also obviously the grade level certificate for what they would like to be teaching. And we are going to continue to adapt to our changing needs of our school community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Caduto. Any questions from the board?
Yes, okay. How many teachers in the entire program?
In the ESL program?
Yeah.
We have 23 this year, we will have 27 next year, but that is just the TESOL certificated teachers, not counting the general education teachers who added a certificate.
how many of those have that multiple certification?
How many of the ESL teachers have multiple certifications? I am not certain off the top of my head, but I can tell you it is at least half, maybe more.
And
All the recent hires have been dual certified.
oh, they have. Okay. And how many members of the staff, the 25 to 27, are bilingual?
Many of them are, especially, again, the recent hires. We've made a really strong effort in the past few years to make sure that we are hiring teachers who are bilingual.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in before I keep on with my questions?
No, we finish on
Okay. What kind of professional development is provided for all E&L staff? I mean, specifically, what kind of professional development?
For the E&L teachers, we have included them in all of the regular professional development and encouraged them to look for workshops that pertain directly to what they're teaching. So depending on their grade level, they may be going to different workshops. For the general education staff, in all of the buildings, we offered a series of 6 professional development workshops, which I conducted myself. And that related to vocabulary development, E&L strategies, and relevant regulations to teaching ELLs.
And that is mandatory, or that is?
That was part of the regular professional development in the buildings, yes.
All right. You mentioned having changes to the enrollment procedure. What are those changes?
Those changes include all of the changes that apply to anyone who walks through the doors to register, of which there have been many, but somebody, Betsy Chapel, could speak about that, probably has. But as far as the English learners, an additional set of regulations have also been applied. That includes including a parent orientation at the time of enrollment. New York State just recently released a video which we are going to be showing to our families. There is additional paperwork in the form of the expanded home language questionnaire. The home language questionnaire used to be about this long. Now it's 2 pages back to back. That must be filled out by a teacher, a certified ESL teacher, in collaboration with the parents, and it involves a lot of, it's basically a simplified social history for the family, so we get that information
That
on the
leads
kids.
me into my next question, then, because you talked about doing this new evaluation process.
Mhm.
Approximately, how long does that evaluation process take per student?
Well, we're still working on that because the state was going to be providing us with the home language and the math assessments. They have not yet done that. So what part of the roadmaps project is to give us an effective but the least time-consuming possible version of those. We're not sure how long it is going to take in total, but it is the reason that we have a teacher on special assignment at PPS at this point.
That was going to be my next question. Who does the evaluations? A certified teacher does the
Right.
evaluations?
Must do it under regulation.
Okay,
Yeah.
and they are on special assignment. That is their
That will
responsibility.
be part of their whole responsibility, and if there happens to be time where they are not needed for that, we have other areas that they can fill in terms of translating and things like that. But some of the responsibility will go to the buildings in September when school starts, when we get a few extra students, and but during the year we're hoping that this teacher on special assignment will be able to handle everyone who comes in, and that will take it out of the buildings a little bit.
So, at the time that a student comes in, what would you say the turnaround time would be to get that child in the classroom?
They're in a classroom very quickly. The full testing, we have 10 days to complete, but they are in an initial placement right away.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't that originally the concept behind the enrollment?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
To get them in faster?
Mhm.
What happens when you have,
What happens in the event when you have an unaccompanied minor and there's no one there as their advocate? Who's there as their advocate going through the process? I realize they probably have other family members.
Yeah, I was speaking with Ms. Chappell the other day, and we were looking at the data. I can't 100% tell you that this is the case for all of our students, but most of our students do not reach us as unaccompanied minors. They are with family of some
but you must
kind.
have some.
Yeah, that would be more a registration question, but we have people who speak Spanish who are in PPS. This teacher on special assignment will also be able to assist the families. We find that the families do get a lot of support from the community. They get a lot of support from Sister Margaret's office in terms of, letting them know that the school is here, that the U.S. regulation is that they are to go to school. And once they get to our offices, we have multilingual people who help them through that.
Ms. Lance, just to respond to that as well, any unaccompanied youth actually come with documentation already. They're actually legal citizens in the country, and they come with documentation. They've been through processes already. So they come to us with paperwork, with all the things that are needed to register the students in school,
Yes.
when they're placed in different families.
That's true.
What about the immunization?
A student transferring into our school district from another school district in the United States has a 2-week period of time to get those immunizations and get the proof of that. A student who is entering from another country has 30 days to produce those immunization records. Most of our kids, though, come in with records, yes.
What would be the second largest student language other than Spanish in our district?
It varies year to year between Polish and Urdu, typically. I can get that answer as to what it is currently, but it's usually Polish or Urdu, and it tends to flip by about 1 point.
Okay. And is most of the ENL education based towards Spanish? Are we worried about those students that speak other language other than Spanish falling through the cracks?
We are. We're worried about all of the kids, and the Spanish speakers come in with a wide range of educational background as well. So, we worry about that as well. But our bilingual programs, the ones that we are required under regulation to have, are all Spanish-English bilingual programs. So, in that instance, we do focus exclusively on Spanish, but because 94 to 96% of our ELO population and their families are Spanish-speaking, there is definitely a focus on that. But yes, we do worry about that. ESL is taught in English. So ESL teachers are trained in terms of how to help a kid whose language they don't speak access the language and develop a common language. So we definitely do work on that. One of the new regulations, or it's more of a reinforcement of the regulations, is that we need to send information home in the language that parents can understand. What that has meant for our district is translating some of our school documents into multiple languages. So we are doing that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Caduto.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's hard to believe. It's only a couple of weeks until the end of another school year. And May, June for us in the district is it's award season for our schools, and I do want to congratulate all of our students who are being honored this year. The high school award season began on May 26th with our annual academic awards. These are given to high school students who achieved the highest average in their classes in the first 3 quarters of their coursework and excelled in also particular extracurricular activities such as student government. And then on June 2nd, selected seniors were honored at our annual senior scholarship night. And this was it was a packed house full of relatives, teachers, administrators, and members of our community. Our high school seniors received a total of $764,900 worth of scholarships from community members. And as I said, these awards completely come from our local community in the form of donations and scholarships. And just on behalf of the board, I want to thank all the people who funded these scholarships and allowed this evening to be possible. It's really phenomenal community support for our students. June 4th, we had our annual athletic award nights, and many of our student athletes, including those who have excelled on the field and in the classroom, were honored. The middle school is going to join in the award season on June 16th with their annual academic awards. So it's just a really exciting time of year that we acknowledge all our students for their accomplishments throughout the year. Also just want to mention and give accolades to the staff at Phillips Avenue School. They participated in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge to find a cure for ALS. ALS victim Chris Pendergast. He was there to cheer them on in their efforts, and with the final check from the PTO, they raised over $3,000. It qualifies the Phillip Avenue School as a Gold Award winner. They'll receive a banner and certificate from the ALS Ride for Life organization. Just want to thank the staff, the students, and the families, everyone who really participated and donated to this very worthwhile event. Also want to congratulate our Riverhead High School musicians and their directors who participated in the Night of Strings concert on May 31st. It's definitely one of my favorite concerts of the year. 380 string players performed Shut Up and Dance that evening, and these students are in 5th grade through 12th grade. The evening begins with our 5th graders and ends with our seniors, and then they all come together for a grand finale. This grand finale was called Shut Up and Dance, and the arrangement was written by our own music teacher at the middle school, Regan Burns, and we just want to just congratulate all of them for their efforts and just a very exciting evening. And just to continue with some music excellence, 4 Riverhead Middle School honor groups traveled to Bristol, Connecticut on Saturday, May 21st, and they competed in the annual Music in the Parks Festival. A very successful day. Our school received the coveted Esprit de Corps Award, and the overall results are Riverhead Middle School Wind Ensemble won 1st place with a superior rating. The Riverhead Middle School Jazz Band won 1st place with an excellent rating. Our Chamber Orchestra won 1st place with an excellent rating, and our Riverhead Middle School Show Choir also won 1st place with an excellent rating. So just want to congratulate all of our musicians and their teachers for really making us proud as they represented our district. And then just turning to athletics, I want to mention that 5 of our high school scholar athletes received scholarships to play their sport in a Division I or Division II college in the fall. And they were honored at a ceremony on May 26th in the high school library. Blake Carrera will be playing lacrosse at the University of Maryland. Courtney Troyan will play lacrosse at Stony Brook. Austin Fitzpatrick will play lacrosse at New York Institute of Technology. Caitlin Zaneski will play field hockey at Adelphi, and Samantha Dunn will play basketball at LIU Post in Brookville. So congratulations to all of our scholar athletes as well. And just want to remind everyone, we have our annual CAT March against drugs at Pulaski Street School this Friday, June 10th. Riverhead Police Officer Byron Perez is this year's honored guest and keynote speaker. Invite you all to participate. You have your invitations. It's always a wonderful event. And just finally, at the June 24th, at our next board meeting, we're going to be honoring several dozen retirees who are going to be leaving the district. So it should be just a night for us to really reflect on all the effort that our staff has put in and given to the Riverhead School District for decades and many, many years. And we also have some teachers and administrators who will be receiving tenure. So we're looking forward to ending the year on a note of of reflection and moving forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carney. Opportunity for board members. Yes, Ms. Lance.
I just want to say congratulations to all the recipients of the scholarships. The day after they were awarded, I ran into Mr. Ligon, Richie Ligon, and he was just about on the brink of tears because his grandson was awarded 10 scholarships that night, and he was just beaming with pride. It was really nice. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the front of the school where there's the pickup in the afternoon for all the students. I just wanted to ask Ms. Carney if she could just maybe look into it with Mr. Finnerty to see if that traffic can be moved along in a more timely manner, because there's always congestion on Harrison Avenue, whether it's going south or whether it's going north. There's people fighting to get into the pathway, to get into the front of the school. There's gaps in the cars that are lined up to pick up students. Somebody needs to be policing that traffic along a little bit more effectively. It's not very smooth running, and outside of the school on Harrison Avenue, you have kids who are crossing the street to get into their car that's facing south, so they have to cross the street where there's no crosswalks. There were cars today backed up, cars trying to go around school buses. It just, I feel like it really should be looked into, because God forbid something happens, we'll never forgive ourselves. So if you could just look into that, please.
I will, thank you.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes, I just need to make a quick adjustment to one of my votes under consent agenda for item C, personnel, civil service. It kind of got past me, but on number 7, I would like to abstain on just number 7. So I'm sorry.
C7,
C
number 7.
7. Battleship.
Right.
And then along with the same item with consent agenda, we always go through that quick, and I know we pointed out one of our new hirees. So just wanted to congratulate all the other hirees that were there. But also we had a resignation from, that we accepted tonight for Mr. Wicks. So I'd like to thank him for his services to the school district, and wish him luck in his future endeavors. And more importantly, the second most important thing after Eastern Suffolk BOCES, Dave, should be Riverhead. So as long as we keep that there. Then along with that also, we did have a retirement, Jenny Lou Corbin, retirement there. So even though they'll be brought up, I kind of like to point that out in consent agenda, because like I said before, we kind of go through that real quick, but I think it's important that a few names are always mentioned. So thank you, congrats, and Dave, you better do the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Anyone else? No. Opportunity for RCFA.
Good evening. I would just like to also congratulate Mr. Wicks on his new role. We'll desperately miss him. He's been a pleasure to work with, and BOCES is very lucky to have him. Congratulations.
Opportunity for members of the community. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Second, Ms. Lance. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks.